Monaghans Galway, located on the Tuam Road, is the leading dealership in Galway for new SKODA, CUPRA and Seat models. Now is the perfect time to order your new car or visit Monaghans.ie. You're welcome along to the Maroon and White pod. So we're here this evening to look ahead to the county final, and it's the novel county hurling final between Cappataggle and Loughrea this Sunday in Kenny Park. The game is not being shown on TV, but it is live on the Galway GA TV service. It gets underway at 1:45 p.m. on Sunday, and I'm here this evening joined by former Loughrea hurler Brian Mahony and Greg Lally to look ahead to the final. Craig, coming to you first, like start of the year, Loughrea, Cappataggle final, not many would have predicted this.
No, Paul, definitely not with the way Thomases were shaping up for the 7 in a row, and it was very hard to look past them. No matter what they did in the last 6 years, they probably didn't do much wrong. So, yeah, definitely Thomas not being in it was a big shock, I suppose. And Cappy, I suppose, are the surprise package of the year. I seen Andy Cohen actually quote today on Off the Ball saying that they were the Leicester City of the Premier League a few years ago, where they just made a run all the way along, and like it's a great statement and very true. Like, that's just the way they've been. They've probably built as the year went on. After the group game, they really got going, and definitely in the last two games in particular, Saracens and Thomases, they've really worked on their momentum and are where they are now, and no doubt looking forward to being in their first county final on Sunday.
Brian, what's it like for yourself? Are you nervous for Loughrea this weekend? Like, how are you feeling ahead of this one?
Oh yeah, well, excited and nervous. We've been there long enough, and we've only got over the line once in recent years, 2006, and that's a long time ago. So yeah, we're daring to dream, but anyone you talk to around Loughrea is kind of afraid to say too much, because as I said, we've been there before and haven't got over the line. But there's a great buzz around the place. The town looks well. Good buzz with the kids in school and all that kind of stuff. So plenty of banter going on. And when you're in a county final against near neighbours out the road, everybody has an opinion. I see houses with one pillar is Cappataggle flag and the other pillar is a Loughrea flag, and that's what it's all about. All great banter and all. Looking forward to the whole occasion on Sunday now.
Like, it's hard to believe for some people when they look on at this that you've only got over the line twice, 1941 and 2006. Like, I think if people are looking from the outside, they just assume that Loughrea have more county titles than two.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was even just talking to some members of the staff in school today, and they were saying the same thing. Have you really only won two? Like, because we've been knocking thereabouts, but I suppose they haven't got over the line. I suppose that just goes to show how precious they are. Ask Greg as well. That they don't come around very often, and that's why I suppose when you see the likes of Thomas's doing what they did, you'd have huge admiration for them. But yeah, look, at county titles at any age group or any age grade are really hard to win, and obviously, what every club strives towards is to produce a team that will win a senior club championship. And yeah, they've been scarce in Loughrea, so we'll take one if it's going.
You've obviously both played in county finals, and it's just something, I suppose, interesting from the outside. Like, Craig, you've obviously played in a few county finals for Gort. What's the mindset of a player this week now in the lead up to this game?
Yeah, as Brian mentioned, there's going to be a great buzz going around the parish, and I see photos there in Cappataggle Facebook page today of cars being painted and flags going up, and the same around the town there. I seen Johnny Maher and a few of the boys going around putting up flags around the town there in the last couple of days, and there'll be a great buzz going around the place. But as a player, I suppose, to just try and stay away from it and try and just focus on the game and not get caught up in it. Like, and I know it's very hard because it's on your own doorstep and you're driving past it every day, but I suppose it's just another game for the player. Like, and just have that in your head that I know it's very hard to get caught up in it, and in particular, I suppose, as Brian mentioned there, like it's very hard to believe that Loughrea have only two county titles and only one 2006, considering that they're, as Brian said, they were knocking on the door for so long in the last 10-15 years. Like, they've always been thereabouts. So it's going to be a special occasion for whoever wins on Sunday. Like, Cappataggle's first ever county final. Like, they only come up from intermediate in 2014. Even though, like, I know it's 10 years ago, it doesn't seem that long ago. Like, but it's going to be very special. And for the players, really, they just have to treat it like another game, I suppose, and just not get caught up in the emotion and not get caught up in all the hype that's going around the towns and villages and stuff like that. And as Brian mentioned there, because both parishes are so close, there'll be extra rivalry, like, you know, in it. It's the first time I'd say a South Galway team has been in a while, so it's good for Loughrea and Cappy as well, and the area there, that the rivalry as well, I suppose. You know, it's nice to have two teams close to it as well. It brings an extra bit of bite to it.
What did you do to avoid it?
Well, like Brian, I actually lost more county finals than I won, Paul. I lost 3, so I did, so, and only won 2. But like, there's not much you can do to avoid it, really. Like, maybe don't go out in the streets as much, you know, around the town as much, and maybe just keep the head even lower. Like, you know, just go to the pitch, go to train, go to work, and go home. Like, just don't be out and about. Try to avoid the shops and the petrol stations and whatnot, and just keep the head down. That's all you can do. Like, and look at the inevitable, like, stuff like interviews and days meeting the kids around the place and stuff like that. That leads up to it in the week ahead of it. And if you're a captain or you're one of the senior players, you probably have to deal with that sort of stuff. But other than that, just keep the head down. Just focus on the match. Like, and I think that's the only way you can treat it, because you can get caught up in it. Like, and, you know, there's just, you meet the neighbour down the road and he wants to talk about it. Next thing you're talking for 20 minutes or half an hour, and, you know, you're draining energy for no reason and stuff you mightn't have done before. And, you know, it leads to just stuff that you mightn't have done leading up to semi-finals or quarter-finals. And while it's all special and all that, and it's great to get involved in the hype, it just can drain you leading up to it. Like, so all I'd say is just keep the head down and throw on Netflix for the week there and watch a few films.
And then it depends on individuals in as well. You know, like some lads love meeting a lad and talking for 20 minutes about the match and that kind of stuff. And they know the lads, you know, you're nearly afraid to go to the shop for fearing to meet a lad and that kind of stuff. So it all depends on the personality of the player himself. But, like, yeah, most lads would like to just keep the head down and get to Sunday and get to the throw-in. Isn't that it? Like, you know. But yeah, as I said, completely depends on the individual. But the majority of lads just want to get on with it and get to Sunday as quickly as they can.
Were these occasions as a player, Brian, you massively enjoyed throughout your career?
Oh, hugely. Like, you know, you set out every year in January or February whenever the hard slog was done, and whenever you were packing the gear bag to go running in the side pitch in Loughrea or the back pitch in Bart or wherever the case may be, and the one bit of motivation that brought you back every year was to get to the county final day. And yeah, they were hugely enjoyable occasions. I suppose the added spice of it being in Kenny Park then as well, you know, everyone you talk to, what time are you going to be in Kenny Park at, and what time are you going down at, like, you know. So you know, you no disrespect to Pearse Stadium, but anyone you talk to in the last couple of years, geez, are you going to bother going to Pearse Stadium nearly, like, you know. But it'll be a huge occasion for players. I think, Greg, did you play one in Kenny Park?
Yeah, we played one in the stadium, one in Kenny Park. Yeah.
We played 2010 in we played Clarenbridge in Kenny Park in a replay, and I think I said it on the pod the last day. It was by far the best county final. I played in 7, and it was, you know, as an occasion goes, it was hugely enjoyable occasion. Yeah, so look at they were great days. Really enjoyable, and you know, it's the pinnacle for a club player, you know, to tug out with your club on county final day. And I'm sure the 15 guys that take to the pitch for Cappy and the 15 for Loughrea are really relishing and looking forward to it.
It's almost goosebumps you're giving there, Brian, because Kenny Park it's going to be unbelievable on Sunday.
Yeah, it will be. Like, county semi-final day is always a huge occasion because you have the 4 best teams left in the championship, but there's something different about county final day. Yeah, you would. I get goosebumps talking about it and thinking about it. Yeah, but you know, even hitting the field, and yeah, look, it's the home hurling. I think we chatted a bit about this the last day we were on, about Tuam being the home football and Kenny Park being the home of hurling. And you know, it's as I said, it's where every club player wants to be. There'll be a huge occasion. They'll be behind the goals. There'll be, you know, the turret side will be full. Everywhere will be packed. It'll be packed, and it'll be a super occasion. You'd wish you were a few years younger and you could be part of it.
If we do look at Cappataggle, like, even you mentioned Andy Cohen's comparison there, Craig, of what he's compared them to, but Like I can't remember a turnaround like this. Like even for instance, Cappataggle's group games, Cappatagle 16, Kilkenire 110. Turlockmore 129, Cappataggle 15 points. And then Cappataggle 122, Mulla 16 points. That win obviously got them through, but the turnaround from the group to then get to county final, it must be one of the greatest turnarounds in Galway club hurling.
I think so, and it's not as if they've got an easy route as well. Sometimes you see that they've got an easy route, like, but they've beat some tough opponents, and like Saracens were tipped to be thereabouts county final. Obviously, Thomas is in the semi final, so they've gone the hard way. And that Mulla game, Mulla were in control of that game for long periods as well. Like Cappy only really pushed on in the last 15 minutes. And on top of that, then as well, I suppose over the course of the last 2 years, Dan Nevin and Paul Claffey would have been two of their main players. They're down them as well in the last 2 years. Like so, all in all, like they've bled through a lot of young lads as well in the last year or two to go with the older lads. So like it's been like if you look at it along the way when they played Clymerdale in the Premier quarter final, I think it was called a 50-50 game. Even though they went on to win that, like so that's how far they've come. I was just even looking back to 2014 when they won the intermediate that time. Like there's probably about 6 or 7 of those still left there. Good few the Garveys, Jam Mannion, James. So they do have a bit of experience as well as youth as well. Like so, even though it's their first county final, the run they went on of the 4 county semi-finals in a row there up to 2020, they do have that experience of being there as well. I know they've never been played in the final before, but they have the bit of experience to go with the youth as well. So they have a nice mix and blend of a team. So they have, and I think that's probably as they've finished very strong in the last 2 games against tough opponents, and I think that bit of experience has pushed them on. Like so, they'll be looking to that again on Sunday to try and get the most out of that.
What's changed in Cappy this year though, Craig, compared to previous years?
I think the youth that they've brought through, Paul, has definitely pushed them on, and no more so than Liam Collins finding Oran Finn for that goal against Thomas's. Like they were 2 very youthful players, albeit Liam Collins is probably around the senior scene 3 or 4 years now. People forget he's only early 20s, and Oran Finn 3 years playing, 2 years I think playing with Cappy. Like so, the youth has really pushed them on along with the old, like the Garveys, Jackie Cronin, James Cahill, they've always been there leading the way, but I think the youth has really pushed them on. Michael Garvey at centre back, so they're really showing an all-around strong 15 at the minute. And then they've the likes of, they're bringing on 2 or 3 subs there that are making a big difference as well as the years gone by. And I think that's really in the last 2 games in particular. Clymerdale game they probably won a bit on the with ease for a finish, but definitely in the last 2 games when it's come down the home stretch with 10 or 15 minutes to go, I think that's what's really pushed them on, the mix of the team and the blend.
Brian, from your own playing career, how would this rivalry, I suppose, how would you get on with Cappy? How would you describe the rivalry?
Sure, with any neighbouring club, there's always going to be rivalry there. Yeah, like if you go back, maybe like 2018, 19, pre-COVID, Cappy were really going strong that time, and they definitely had our number. We thought we were going really, really well. Jamie Ryan's dad was manager of the team, Mike. Brendan Bugler was coaching us from Clare. We thought we were in a really good place, and they knocked us out in the quarter final, and they did the same in the year after. So maybe 18, 19, they definitely had our number in Loughrea in a couple of years. But I think in the last couple of years, we bet them in the championship last year in the group games. We actually bet them in a league final last year as well. Maybe even 2 years ago, I think we bet them in the group game as well. It was a year then Jeff Linsky was involved with us. We bet them in a group. So it's been always nip and tuck. There's never been much in it. As I said, they definitely, when they were on the run there, getting to the couple of semi-finals, they definitely had our number in a couple of years. But we've kind of turned it back around. But yeah, look, with any neighbouring club, Greg can tell you, just any club that's out the road, there's always a bit of banter, a bit of rivalry. But it's always been in good spirits. But yeah, definitely, I would say in the last year or two, anytime we've met, we've come out the right side of it. So I'd be just hoping that we come out the right side on Sunday as well.
Craig, one man that seems to have a massive influence on this team is your former teammate James Cahill.
Yeah, I suppose look at James, 20 years playing senior hurling now, like so he's been around the block a few times. loads of experience, and I suppose he's been through all that. Like as I said to you, from playing intermediate up to senior and being involved in those 4 county semi-finals where they were agonisingly close. Like, so look at he's that type of person anyway. He'd be very vocal and be a good leader, and there's a good he'd be a good way about him at training sessions and stuff like that as well, no more than the game time. And he'd be a good man now to talk at half time and talk during the game, obviously. And like he's been around the block, so like he's probably the main standout leader for the team. So he is at the minute. So look, but they have more as well. Like Jackie Cronin has been a great leader for them there in the full back line. The Garveys down through the spine there. They've been around a while. Jam Manion's around a while now as well. So they have other leaders there that are leading on the pitch as well as James. But yeah, look, I think Stephen Craven's done a good job there since he went in, and like especially to turn things around this year. I think he's definitely got a solid starting 15 now that he can call on every day. And I think Leaming's done a good job, obviously training them there as well this year. So he has. So look, they've an all around. They have. I think they've a fairly solid setup there at the minute. And like Loughrea, Brian touching it there. Like I suppose where Cappy were strong up to 2020 with the 4 county semi-finals, they probably drifted away in the last couple of years. Bar this year, like the last 2 or 3 years, and never really pushed on. And I think Loughrea have like very close in 2022. My eyes probably should have won that county final. Last year the same way, just came up short. And this year they're really like there's such a difference in the years for both teams. Like whereas Loughrea have just been in control of every game, dominated, got in front, and held out, and with ease, and were able to bring on 5 or 6 subs and see out games. Whereas Cappy down to the last minute to win games in the last 4, or but 3 out of the last 4. So it's two totally different avenues into county final for both teams, and I think that just shows where both teams are at. And I think Brian touched on it there, like, and he's dead right that like Loughrea have definitely found I think a team that if they win on Sunday, there's nothing stopping this Loughrea team for going on and win 2 or 3 county titles. And I think I would have said the same thing if they won in 2022. I think we could be talking about Loughrea having 2 or 3 now, or maybe going for 2 in a row or 3 in a row or 2 out of 3. And I think that just, and I know Brian will probably say that maybe in 2006 when they won that one that they probably thought the same thing. And I know they're a very hard win, but I think I think Loughrea just have at the minute, they've a panel. It'd be a very hard match around the country, never mind county. Like they're bringing on subs there that would be the main forwards for most club teams around the county, like our country, So now the fact and Martin McManus, inter-county hurler, is not even in the equation. Like, so like they have a really good mix. And I talked about Cappataggle's experience. Like Loughrea has so much experience there as well. Like, and I know we'll touch on it more, but I think that like looking at both sides where they've evenly matched 15, I think just Loughrea, their panel is just very, very strong.
Hope you're right, Greg.
On a Brian, like on a Loughrea perspective, obviously the last few years since I suppose bringing Thomas's to that replay, there's been huge expectation for Loughrea to go on and win county titles. Do you think actually having the players injured this year maybe helped this team, because maybe it just dampened expectations a bit with I suppose all the injuries they had at the start of the year?
Yeah, definitely. I suppose last year expectations were really, really high. After bringing Thomas's to a replay in 2022, so expectations were really high, and there was a huge amount of disappointment around the Loughrea camp after the defeat to Thurlockmore in the county semi-final last year. And in fairness, management team, players regrouped and went at it again, and the start of the year was very topsy-turvy, lots of injuries. Jamie had a terrible injury with Galway that time with the thumb. Martin did his cruciate. Darren Shocks had a bad injury when he was in with the Galway under-20s as well. It just seemed to be one sucker punch after the other. And as you said, it probably dampened expectations and probably galvanised the group as well, I suppose, a lot as well. There was, when you have a team and a lot of injuries like that, you have 2 options. You either kind of use it as a crutch and, Jesus, poor us, or else you galvanise and circle the wagons. And that's definitely what Loughrea did. I I could go back to the very first group game against Crowell. That the season really hinged on that. I'm just saying, if Loughrea had been flat that evening, if they had been bet by Crowell, all the excuses were lined up there for Loughrea. And we could be having a completely different conversation this evening. But as Greg said, they've been ultra impressive. Given the cards they were dealt, they were the only group winners to get through the quarter-final stage. Albeit not playing awfully well against Cashel. But yeah, you'd have to say very impressive. Again, the last stage, Greg said, able to empty the bench and stuff like that. A lot of players pushing for positions, which you couldn't have foreseen at the start of the summer, given the injury list that was there. But yeah, you'd have to be really impressed with it. They've gone about their business this year.
When you look at it too, I know there was a few, I suppose, there was talk about the management or not, because obviously they've been here for quite a while, but it's obviously been key getting that management team to stay on for another year. One of the reasons why you're back here. But even look deep into the squad, like a player like Bobby Feeney played the first game and he didn't even come on in the semi-final. In that way, it's probably stood to the overall panel as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, the management team decided to give it one more crack. The players were very anxious for them to stay on. There was no one more disappointed than the management team last year after the Thurrock defeat. But yeah, the players were very anxious for them to stay on. And then we've been lucky. Three good younger guys come on again this year. Vince Morgan, Shane's younger brother, Bobby Feeney, who started that very first group game against Crowell and played really, really well, and actually came on against Clarenbridge in the group game and scored a point or two. He's a really good prospect going forward. And then obviously the third of the Killeen brothers, Cullen, has had a good year, come on and looked really, definitely added something to it against Clarenbridge in the semi-final. So that the little injection of youth, as you know, any team that can get two or three coming up out of minor grade that can add to a senior panel, it just lifts everybody. So I think, given the injuries and stuff, the role of them three guys this year has been really, really important, that they've came with a good run. But yeah, because we're exactly where they want to be.
It must be a really close-knit group when you're looking at the Loughrea team overall, like Brian, 5 sets of brothers.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Tearing the heads of each other at training. But it is, yeah. And look, sure, yeah, that's in every club, isn't it? Like, you go back to the Thomases and you look at the Burks and, all the Coonies, go back down through the years with any successful team, you think of the Cloonans and Athenry, the Donohues, Cannings and Bertumna, the Lallies and Gort. You name it. Clubs are built on families, and all you need to do is come with 2 or 3 good families that have plenty of boys, and you're away in a hack. But yeah, it's a great occasion for them families. Them all the brothers. The year we won it, I had 3. There was 3 of us, and we still have the photo at home. The 3 of us heading off in our gear bags on the morning of the county final. But they're special memories for all them families and all them sets of brothers that are going to be heading off. Great occasion for them. Great occasion for their parents, and I suppose justification for all the travel and hard work and washing the gear for the mothers and all that. But yeah, it's a great occasion for them to look forward to as well.
As well, then, when you look over at the other side in Cappy, Craig, like you have 4 Garveys, all brothers, playing as well this weekend.
Yeah, the fair representation, right? Yeah, it's a bit like the Burks from Thomas's, but yeah, look at Brian is touched it there. He's dead right. Like it's what you need to be there. It's nearly what you need now at this stage. In a rural club, anyway, to be thereabouts is a group of brothers coming along and being all fairly well able to hurl, to be able to get there. Like, and a lot of the successful teams over the last couple of years have that. I suppose, and you're going to need that really, and I think going forward in most counties for us type of clubs to compete with the big built up areas, the likes of the Clarenbridges and the Turlocks and the Ormoors of the world, or any city club now, where the population is just getting bigger and bigger. You need a lot of brothers coming through to be able to compete, and that's definitely shown this Sunday with Loughrea and Cappy. They have those brothers, so that's the way it's going to be, I think. But I think Brian touched on it there. I think that it's a special occasion as well, like for the families and definitely for the parents of the lads. Like, that I think as I get older in my career now and I'm getting close to the end of it, I think that when I look back in those county final days, like they're just like, even for me, for Gavin being there, like, or for Jason, my brother-in-law, or anything like that, it's just, they're the days and they're the memories that you make. And geez, they feel like a distant memory now from fighting a relegation final to looking back in the county final a few years ago. But they're unbelievable memories, like, and they're stuff you cherish, like, and I'm sure the lads in Sunday will cherish every single minute of it. And it's the days after as well, like it's that night going home to your town, whether you're a winner or loser, the day after with the lads, or the second day or the third day with the lads, that you're all in a group together, and the crowd start going and it's only the team. Like, they're the days you remember, like, and that's what county finals are about. And and it's an added bonus if you can go and win it. And as Brian said, like, more than me, Brian has lost plenty of them. I've lost plenty of them, and you think about the ones you lost just as much as the ones you win. Like, and I think that will be the big thing on Sunday, that whoever wins it, it's just something that you'll have for the rest of your life.
Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a bank holiday in Cappataggle or Loughrea anyways on Monday.
And Tuesday and Wednesday.
Yeah.
There's left by then.
Lads, the one strange element about this is, though, that like this game hasn't been picked up by a national broadcaster. When you consider, like, it's going to be a famine really ended in either club this weekend, that it's not going to be shown. I just find it a bit strange, to be honest.
Yeah, it is bonkers. Like, when you see some of the stuff that's on telly for the last couple of weeks, do you know what I mean? And it's not putting it down or anything like that, but to think that, like, and look at the Galway Championship, Club Championship, is one of the best in the country. Like, not to have it live it's crazy, like, and like, it's probably gone like that the last couple of years. It's kind of hit and miss, isn't it? Once upon a time, the Galway Club final was always on, but it's very hit and miss the last couple of years.
Considering too, like, your All Ireland champions, reigning All Ireland champions come from Galway. Obviously, they won't be the All Ireland winners this year, but it just does seem like a strange decision, Brian.
Yeah, I don't know. What is it down to the streaming service or rights or something? I look at I can't. I don't know. I'm not privy to that side of it. But yeah. I suppose if you're going to go back a couple of years, the Galway County Final was nearly always shown. But in recent years, it hasn't been for some reason. And it's a pity, because it's always a huge occasion. And the team that wins the Galway Club Championship inevitably will have a big say in the All Ireland Club series. So you'd imagine other counties that only love to see the Galway County Final broadcast live, but because it won't bother Cappataggle supporters or Loughrea supporters either way, as long as their team they're supporting wins. But yeah, it would be nice to showcase it off, to the rest of the hurling public around Ireland. But as I said, that won't be bothering either camp on Sunday if they get the right result.
Particularly too, when you look at it, Brian, like, people will often talk maybe about young hurlers in Galway, but when you look at both of these sides, it's some of the most exciting youngest hurlers across the county. Like, you look at Tiernan, he scored 231 in the championship, 22 coming from frees, the rest coming from play. You look at Niall Collins, he's got 53 points. Like, these are some of the exciting and up and coming hurlers that I suppose Galway hurling's going to be built on for the next few years.
Absolutely, yeah. Micheál Dunne is going to be down there with a keen interest in seeing how them guys you mentioned operate, and really it's going to come down to them, the type of players you mentioned. It's going to come down to the two sets of forwards. Can Anthony and Darren and Tiernan and Anthony Burns, Darren Shocks and Tiernan produce the form and the scores that they've been shooting all year, and can Loughrea up the other end hold Liam Collins and Niall Collins and these dangerous forwards, Jam Mannion. Like I said it on the pod the last time after the quarterfinals, that I gave Cappataggle a squeak against Thomas's, and I'm solely on the fact that they have scoring forwards. Like, in any team, be it an under 12 match, if you have two or three forwards that know where the posts are, you're always in with a shout, and that's what Cappy have. They have scoring forwards, and they're going well. And as I said, Loughrea have their guys that are on form, and it'll probably invariably boil down to which forward line kind of fires best, and hopefully it'll be the Loughrea lads.
What kind of game, Craig, are you expecting on Sunday?
Look, I think that it'll be a fast-paced game. Both teams like to run the ball at pace. The fast forwards, as Brian mentioned there, Anthony Burns, Darren Shaughnessy inside, they've just been burning pace. Like, the big difference, I think, in both teams, Loughrea have been getting an awful lot more goals than Cappy in the championship, and I think that's a big factor. And I think if Cappy are to challenge Loughrea the next day, they're going to have to come up with some goals. Loughrea have been putting up some big scores compared to Cappy out throughout the championship.
That's 10 goals for Loughrea, 6 for Cappy throughout the championship.
Yeah, so like I think Cappy are going to have to step it up there a small bit, in terms of both defending and scoring goals. Loughrea like to score high in matches anyway, so look at it. It's going to be intriguing to see both sets of forwards and how they match up, and how both sets of backs deal with the pace that both sets of forwards have. I think that's the big factor, really. And I think that also I think Loughrea's midfield have been very strong this year. I think Sean Sweeney's really come into, in particular, semi-final, and Ian Hanrahan, who has had a great 3 or 4 years for Loughrea, but had a really, really good semi-final against Clarenbridge. He's doing absolutely brilliant running with the ball. He's a great carrier from midfield, and I think that'll be a big part to play as well in the game the next day. Just to see how that matches up, like, because obviously Oisin Finn and Jack Coughlin are fairly young in midfield there. But Sean and Ian have been around a while now. So they're very experienced midfielders. So that'll be an interesting matchup as well the next day.
Yeah. There's gonna be. I love looking at matchups and trying to see who'll pick who and all that kind of stuff. But I imagine Cappy will try and do what they've did in their quarter final and their semi final. They'll try, they'll be hanging in and coming with a late burst, like they did against Sarsfields. But yeah, it's going to be intriguing. Like, who's going to pick Liam Collins? Who's going to pick Anthony Burns? Who's going to pick Darren Shocks? Will Michael Garvey sit as much as he's been doing and let Tiernan and Killeen roam around? Like, so there's a lot of subplots and intriguing little battles going on, and you'd be really looking forward to seeing that.
I'm sure it's the key question in Loughrea this week, Brian, about Jamie Ryan. Obviously, he hasn't started a game yet in the championship. You've obviously played with him too as well. Would you start Jamie Ryan this weekend?
Like, obviously, if Jamie's 100%, Jamie starts. But I just don't know. I don't know if Jamie is fully 100%. He came on against Castlegar and looked really good. Flashed over a point when the game was in the Melton pot. The game might have been level at the time. And again, it was lovely to see him coming on the last day against Clarenbridge. Very unlucky for a goal. I'm sure if he had stuck that, he'd have been delighted with himself. Good save by Aaron Bindon. But and you're like Loughrea have been kind of fairly consistent with their lineup for the last, the quarterfinal, semi-final, even the last group game. So do you go changing it? As I said, if Jamie's not 100%, he won't start. But I don't know. I can't see Loughrea deviating away from the starting 15 that lined out against Clarenbridge in the semi-final. But
You'd
again,
see it the same as the semi-final team.
I'd imagine. There's no, from what I'm aware of, there's no injury, and there was no real poor performance from anybody. Like, so, why would you? Jamie's a great sort to be bringing on if the game was in the melting pot and Cappy came on a run to midway through the second half or whatever. Jamie gets a great lift off the crowd and everything. If it was me, I think I'd be holding him in reserve.
And would you see Cappy going with the same team as the semi-final, Craig?
I'd imagine so. Yeah, like it'd be very hard to move that team considering what they've done in the last 2 games, and I don't think anybody played particularly poorly or anything like that in semi-final that deserved to be dropped or anything like that. So I'd imagine so. I'd imagine they'll set up the same way, like Neil or Michael Garvey at centre back, sitting back. I think he'll do the same thing. If he let Conor, he kind of sat back when Conor Cooney was on him. I think he'll do the same with Tiernan. He got 4 points, 2 from play, 2 frees in the semi-final. So the 2 long-range points, he had all the time in the world to hit them over.
Let him sit back then is the other question then, Greg, isn't it?
I don't think, like, it's the same thing happened the last day where Cappy let Shane Cooney put 1 over from long range. Michael Garvey put over 2 from long range, and I don't think Loughrea allowed that the next day. They just won't be, like, he's a great striker of the ball, like, and you can't afford to be letting your centre back get 2 points from play. I think Dara Dolan got a point from play as well the last day from wing backs. That's 3 points out of your half back line.
Declan Cronin came up the field in the second half, got one as well, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did. So that's 4 points from your six backs from play. Like, I don't think you can afford to be doing that. Like, and I think Thomas is, when they look back, if they look back in the game, the last, that they'll be kicking themselves to allow that happen. And I know Connor likes to play deep and all that, like, but someone had to come out and pick up Michael Garvey then when Connor was going deep. And I think Tiernan probably doesn't go back as far as Connor in terms of a centre forward, but he has the capacity to be able to hit over them long range ones from play like he has been doing. So that'll be an interesting. I think that'll be a very, very interesting matchup, if not the most interesting matchup of the game. What happens between the two of those, and does one of the midfielders pick up Tiernan and say if Michael Garvey is going to sit in back? But Dara Dolan there at wing back had a brilliant game as well the last day. So
he's totally underrated though. Like, he's never getting, I suppose, the praise he deserves. Like, he's just been so solid in every game throughout the championship for them.
I would have loved to have seen a stat on the first half possessions the last day, because he seemed to be on the most ball by a country mile by anyone in the first 20 minutes the last day. He was just getting every single ruck ball has been popped out to him. He was brilliant, so he was, for the first 20 minutes. Not that he wasn't for the rest of the game, but he just, in particular, the first 20 minutes he was on loads of ball. Like, and I think that's where, like, he'd probably be on Joe Mooney the next day. Like, Joe has been a very, very solid hurler for Loughrea for the last 10 years. Like, he's just, you'll get a 10 out of 10 out of Joe for every game. Like, he will not leave an inch out there. And that'll be a really good battle as well the next day, so it will. And, it'll be interesting to see what Garrow does with the puck outs then as well. Like, because Joe is a bit of a target man there for the puck outs, and he probably has the height advantage in there as well. And so, as Brian said, there's loads of different intriguing battles there. So there is that you can be keeping an eye on.
Yeah, you'd be very impressed with Dara Dolan's season. I suppose poor old Dara, I'd say he's lined out in every position for Cappataggle down through the years, from corner back to corner forward. I'd say the only place he hasn't gone in is in goals instead of Skehill. But it's lovely to see him settled in the one position. But as you said, Paul, a very underrated hurler. You put him wing forward, he'll get you 2 or 3 points. Put him wing back, and he was on an amount of ball the last day. But yeah, as you said, that's another really intriguing battle. Joe is a puck out option for Loughrea, drifts back the field an awful lot as well, and builds the play for Loughrea. So just Dara Dolan push up on him and that kind of stuff. So yeah, lots of exciting matchups to keep an eye out for.
Brian, we're talking there about Michael Garvey, and he's been key to Cappataggle's success in getting to county final. But we talk about his long range points, but even, I suppose, he loves to come to that pocket, and if Skehill can play it short, he will. If not, he's going one way and he's going route one. But Loughrea can't afford to let Garvey on the ball. They have to minimise it at every occasion on Sunday.
Absolutely, yeah. Michael, I think he started off as his first year or two playing senior. He was definitely up in the forwards. I definitely came across him a couple of times up there. But he's a beautiful striker, lovely stick man. And 6 is a relatively new position for him from what I know. But he really has taken to it, and he's not afraid. He's very accurate. He's having a shot at the goals. But yeah, I can see Loughrea allowing him to have the influence that he had against Thomas's. I imagine the likes of Neil Keary will be coming out of the full forward line and tagging him or staying very close to him. I just can't see him having the, I hope I'm wrong. I hope he doesn't have the influence he did, because he was immense. Even after the brilliant Cappy goal, I thought the killer score then was they came down the field. Dara Dolan won a free, and Garvey threw over a long range free from 100 yards. That to me was the nail in the coffin for Thomas that day. But yeah, he's a real danger, and someone that Loughrea have to give. I'm sure Loughrea will have their homework done on him. As I said, I hope he doesn't have the influence he had the last day.
If we just look at matchups from a Cappataggle defensive perspective, so we've mentioned that Joe Mooney, you expect that he might go over and Dara Dolan.
Yeah.
Tiernan and Michael Garvey could tie up, given that they're both been playing 6 and 11. Do you think it's just automatic then that Aina Garvey will end up on Cayman Killeen?
Yeah, I'd imagine so. I'd imagine so, unless they've Aina Garvey pinpointed for a man marking job on someone. He does that quite a lot.
Yeah. With the push into the field, I don't know. Yeah, he's definitely going to be. He does a man marking job a lot. You're right, Jim.
He does. He did it on David Burke there last year, 2 years ago, and he did a good job in it. Like, he does that man marking role if it's needed.
Would he put out on the likes of Ian Hannon or one? Because he's Ian is a super carrier of the ball forward as well. Like, so that's another one.
Yeah. Yeah, we played them against a few times on the last couple of years, and midfield was kind of more his position, more so
Yeah,
than a wing back. He played there more.
yeah.
So
I imagine
that could be.
I'd imagine Declan Cronin will pick Darren Shaughnessy, will he?
Yeah, seems that way.
Yeah,
Declan
I'd
job
imagine
in
so.
about the last day, didn't he? Yeah. So I imagine he's the man for Darren Shocks. And then I again you assume James Garvey takes Anthony Burns, don't you?
Yeah, he won't leave the full back line. Like, and as you said, if Neil is coming out the field, maybe to pick up Michael Garvey, you'd imagine Johnny Campbell will probably follow
Campbell
Neil out a small
there
bit.
after him, yeah.
Yeah, the James Garvey doesn't like to leave the full back line. Like, well, like it's funny enough. Like the way Loughrea have been playing, they've been playing the two inside, whereas the way Cappy have been playing, they've nearly been playing one inside. Like Liam Collins was nearly 1-on-1 against Finton a lot in the semi-final. They nearly pulled out the other two corner forwards out to the 45 and just left 1-on-1. So Loughrea playing two inside has been very, very effective. Like, geez, Darren Shaughnessy was very good the last day, and TJ Brennan, it's worked a treat. Like, and Paul, if you're doing team of the year anyway, I think Anthony Burns definitely has to be in with a shout. Like, he's just having an absolute wonder of a year. I think I was the last time I was on, Paul, I said I remember him playing 10 years ago for Loughrea, and as Buff Egan had said, that was a bad statement by me because Derek Fahey and Donald Pear lit me for it on Halloween night, so they did, to say that he's only playing senior hurling for the last 3 or 4 years or 5 years. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he was a really good underage hurler. I think I was talking about him the last time. And he kind of drifted away. He loves his bit of soccer, plays a bit of soccer. And then he actually came back and played a bit of junior B. And they went on and won All Ireland. And he like, obviously on the back of that joined the senior panel 4 years ago maybe, and has really turned himself inside out. Really meticulous with his S&C, and he's a real weapon now. And yeah, I would fully agree. He's definitely in line for team of the year anyway. And I suppose someone had to assume that role when Martin Mack went. You need someone inside that will make the ball stick. And Anthony definitely has been the go-to guy. Against Cashilgar when the heat came on as well, he came up with the goal at the very end, and I thought he was really good the last day as well, and just has become a real focal point for the attack.
He's a very hard one to mark as well. Like, wouldn't he be as a cornerback, Brian? You know it better yourself. But
Yeah,
geez, left hand and top, and his pace, and he's a bit different than what your normal corner forward would be.
Yeah, he's strong and he's got pace, and there are two things that you don't you don't want to come across them when you're inside in the full back line.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I said, he's just been really meticulous with his S&C the last couple of years and his preparation, and you can see it, and he's reaping the rewards, and deservedly so.
It's interesting when you come to midfield then, because as we mentioned, Ian Hanrahan and Sean Sweeney probably went about their business quietly and underrated, and they've been huge for Loughrea. And then you come to midfield for Cappataggle, and obviously Lewis Coughlin and Oisin Finn have literally done the same for Cappataggle.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, definitely. Like, and look at, I suppose, the more than Dara Dolan. I think Sean Sweeney, probably, Brian, you know this better yourself, but he's played in nearly every position for Loughrea down through the years as well. He's been in the full back line up as far as the full forward line and never were in between.
I remember him 1 year playing corner forward, Mark and Andy Cohen down. That's right.
I
do often remind him of that day. Yeah.
Sean has been
got a fair few positions as well. Yeah, down through the years.
Yeah, he's been a great servant. Like, and look at his loads and loads of experience, Sean, as well.
It's lovely getting a run, because I suppose in the last 2 or 3 years he wasn't consistently in the team, and I actually remember, I'd say last spring, he was down the house doing a job for me, Sean's a carpenter, and he was really trying with the he had a baby and he was after getting married, and yourself, your priorities change, but I'm sure he's damn glad I talked him back into going back. He's having a great year. Yeah, really, really, really good the last day. You'd hope Sean keeps the cool and stays hurling the next day, because like Sean is a super hurler, picked off 2 great scores the last day. And I think Clarenbridge kind of nearly, I won't say left him on his own, but they definitely maybe didn't respect him as much as he deserves to be respected. And that's where he seemed to find himself in pockets of space around the middle of the field an awful lot. And hopefully he can do the same again.
The thread of Cappy's 3 up top, like Brian, you mentioned it earlier, like Liam, Jan, Niall. Like, if these boys get into their flow on Sunday, they're going to be 3 hard men to stop.
Yeah, and that is why, as I said, you'd always give Cappy a chance, because either one of them turns it on and decides they're going past a man, they've goal on the head. But yeah, they've been really impressive. I've been really impressed with actually the few games I've seen Cappy. And generally when he's hurling well, he's a kind of a crowd favorite. The crowd love him. It's fist up when the ball goes over.
It's
But yeah,
it's the dirty work Jazz done this year, though,
yeah,
hasn't
yeah,
it
you'd be
been?
very impressed. As I said, he's work rate and he's carrying of the ball and that kind of stuff. He's been really good, and the poor brother Donald has been unlucky with his injury. But yeah, them three guys you mentioned there, as I said, if they take off and Loughrea are struggling to pick them guys up, we'll be in big trouble. But then looking at our full back line. I think Kieran Hanlon has been probably Loughrea's player of the season so far. We're all talking about the Darren and Anthony up front, but I think Mr. Consistency has been our Kieran Hanlon and Hansi. He's been awesome all year. Super semi-final, super quarter-final, really good all the group games. So I imagine he'll be detailed to pick up one of them. And I imagine Johnny Cohen will pick up the other. So yeah,
So
again,
you think Paul Hoban might go over and Ronan Garvey then, is
I
it?
think Paul Hoogan will end up on Ronan Garvey. Yeah, that's what that. Yeah, and again, look at the management team might have completely different ideas, but just when you're matching them up, that's what you'd be thinking. But yeah, look at, as you mentioned, them three guys. If them three guys take off, and the crowd get behind Cappy, we'll be in trouble.
Is it Shane Morgan or Niall Collins then, Craig?
Um, it's hard to know. Like Brian Keary's been going really well as well for Loughrea. I think he was in 2022 when Loughrea got beaten in the county final. He's nearly one of the best players, I think, that year. And he's pushed Collins' point of view. Do you have me? Do
Yeah, I can hear you now. You just
you have me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I said from Niall Collins' point of view, I think even though he got 7 points the last day, 6 frees and a 65, I think he probably had a quieter game from play. For in the county semi-final, the way he's been shooting the lights out from play all year, it's probably one of his quieter years, or quieter games. So I think he'll be all systems go the next day. But I think he plays a lot in the wing opposed to the centre, and I don't think Loughrea are going to move Shane Morgan out of centre back. Like, he's been so solid there all year. So I think they'll allow Shane O'Brien or Brian Keary just to pick him up, whoever goes either side.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, yeah. You're very reluctant to move your six, wouldn't you? So I can't see Loughrea moving Shane Morgan out of there. So yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd say Brian Keary will be detailed to follow Niall Collins.
It'll be interesting to see with the likes of Loughrea now with Jay. Like, Jay played an awful lot of the game the last day back in, say, his half back line midfield. He came way out the field, like, and even when he got his points over his shoulder that time. He was 60, 65 yards out when he got the point over the bar. So he played very little of the game in the full forward line. So it'll be interesting to see what Loughrea do there, who they let come out the field. Like, I'd imagine Johnny probably won't leave the square anyway. So I'd say Johnny will pick up whoever's in the square, more than likely Liam Collins. So that'll be interesting to see, like, because Cappy tend to just play Liam Collins in there on his own.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be interesting to see who they let out the field, like, because I don't think Paul would be like Paul. I'd say would probably be suited to be back there as well. Maybe not come up the field, even though he's played obviously up the field an awful lot more. I think he's just, now that he's back in the team, cornerback has been his position. So that'll be very interesting to see as well in full back line.
And as well with that, like Oren Finn and David Malone, like, they do a lot of the dirty work as well for Cappataggle.
They do, yeah. In particular, David Malone, like, he's a great go-to man. In the puckouts as well, like, he's a big, strong, physical man. Like, he'd be the Joe Mooney of Cappataggle for the puckouts. So he gets through an awful lot of work. He's one of those wing forwards that just put in a massive shift for 45, 50 minutes, and is just, they bring on someone to see it out. Like, he's just one of those players that can. He's an awkward type of player, left hand and top. He's a very hard man to mark in the puckouts. I actually marked him a few times, and he's very physical. Like, so you're right, Paul. He does an awful lot of the donkey work there, like, and probably doesn't reflect in the scoreboard much, but gets through a Trojan amount of work.
The big threat from Cappy too, Brian, is the long puck out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the last day they mixed it up very, very well. Like James got off an awful lot of puckouts to Jared Dolan in the second half, but they have that weapon to go along. I don't know. Like they don't have a whole lot of big men up in the forward line to go along too. Bar, as you said, the Malone guy that Greg mentioned there. I know they kind of change it up towards the end. James Egan comes off the bench. He's definitely a big target man. And Ronan Garvey. But I think they've been mixing it up really, really well. One time, when James got the ball and goals, everyone was going back to field because it was only going one way. But I think they have a lot of work. Yeah, and credit to Stephen Craven and Park McHugh and these guys that are with them. They definitely have an awful lot of work done on that kind of stuff. And I was really impressed with how they varied it up the last day against Thomas's, because I think Turlock found out you cannot just lamp the ball down on top of Shane Cooney and these guys, John Head and these lads. I think they'll definitely have they'll have more kind of tricks up their sleeve for James's puck out against Loughrea the next day as well. But I was really impressed with how they varied it up very well the last day.
Just on the coaching side of things on either team, just John Conlon, obviously very high profile, involved with Loughrea. Have you seen, Brian, what kind of influence he's had on this team?
I have, yeah. I was involved last year. John is a super guy. But like he's a very quiet guy as well. He's not coming in lashing benches or anything like that kind of stuff. And he's a kind of a very much a background role. He has one-on-one little words with players and that kind of stuff. And just like Anthony, if you're hearing, if you're a young player and you're hearing words of wisdom from the likes of John Conlon, who's an All-Ireland winner, like you're going to take that on board. But I suppose Gavin, the coach, Gavin Keary, would have worked with John when he was coaching McClare, and they become very, very good friends. And I suppose that's why how he's involved. But he's not, no disrespect to John, but he's not doing a whole lot. But as I said, he's given little nuggets of information to players, and as I said, no one better to impart a message to a player than the likes of John Conlon.
And with it too, Greg, like, in fairness to Liam Donoghue, over the last few years, even with Clymer Daly and the clubs he's been with, he has been building an impressive coaching CV up to this.
He has, yeah. Like Liam's loads of experience now down through the years, and Clymer Daly, he was with Clymer Daly, Clarenbridge, like he'd have a good background, and he'd be known, he would know what he's at senior level, so he wouldn't, like, in all fairness to him, like, there's no doubting that what he's done this year with this Cappataggle team, like, he obviously has to have some input himself, and Stephen Craven, and as Brian rightly mentioned there, like, their tactics the last day, mixing up the puck out, getting the man marking right, playing the tactics in regards to playing Finton right, having Liam inside one-on-one, all that stuff, like, that all had to come from Liam and Stephen, like, and I think they've done a great job. But like, going back to the panel of Loughrea, like, the management set up there, and like, I think I mentioned this before in the podcast, like, that's inter-county, like, and it's even, I'd say most inter-county teams that will give their left hand to have that management set up, like, and like, Sean, to think that John Conlon is only having a small part to play in the setup is even more amazing there to hear that, like, because, and I know it's Shane Cusick and Tommy Kelly and Gavin, and is Nigel Murray still there? Is he doing the goalkeeping coach?
The goalkeeping coach, yeah.
Yeah, like, it's just like, it's like, I know in Gort anyway, we give our left and right arm to have that type of a setup, like, and then John Conlon in the background, and I know Greg Kennedy and yourself, Brian, were involved in the last couple of years, and like, they're just top notch. It's an unbelievable setup, like, and it's the envy of most clubs, and I can tell you that here now, so it is, and it's definitely been discussed within clubs, like, how good it is. So I think that is a big factor as well the next day, like, and I think that's obviously it's the numbers speak for itself over the course of the year, like, and how Loughrea have been performing and not losing a game and winning games so handy, and like, the coaching factor is massive as well, like, and it's shown as well, and like, it's massive for all the young lads that are coming through as well to have that type of an influence as well. And like, if you're a young 18, Brian mentioned the 3 18-year-olds that were coming onto the panel this year, and if you have John Conlon coming in your ear training and telling you, and you're after watching him winning an Ireland medal in August up in Crow Park, and you've this man coming in your ear giving you nuggets of advice, it's massive, like, and the confidence that gives you when you're coming on or making an impact.
Absolutely.
As we mentioned, Cappataggle going for the first county title. Loughrea, last time they lifted the Tom Callanan Cup was 2006. Brian, is there an element for both clubs involved this weekend? It's now or never.
Sheesh. What does Anthony Daly say? If not now, when? So, yeah, I definitely think from a Loughrea perspective, we there'll be huge disappointment around if we go down the path of another county final defeat. Um, I was actually only thinking today, Johnny Cohen and Paul Hooban and Neil Keary, they played in the county final back in 2009. They played in 2009, 2010, 2012, 13, 2022. So this is their sixth county final. It's really hard to believe that the three boys are playing in their sixth county final. So I'm sure, you know, as much as you're kind of trying to block all that out as a player, I'm sure in the back of Johnny's mind and Paul and Neil, they're kind of saying, if not now, when? So you'd be hoping the likes of them guys, like, geez, they've been super soldiers for Loughrea down through the years. Great guys. Johnny, when he finished up with Galway, came back and he kind of really rejuvenated Loughrea, has given his heart and soul. I'd love for the likes of them guys to get over the line. And then you're thinking Cappy, like they've come out of nowhere. No disrespect to Cappy, like they've come out of nowhere. If you were leaving Ballinasloe after they played Mullia, and someone told the Cappy lads they'd be in a county final, I'm sure they'd have laughed at it themselves. Like, but they're there on merit. They're there because they deserve to be there. I'm just saying, if they didn't get over the line, would it be the end of the world for them? I don't know. Would it be? But I do certainly think for Loughrea that we would definitely think it's the we definitely think there's a curse on us or something if we don't get over the line. But look at it all, regardless of that, and it all boils down to who performs best in the day, doesn't it?
Craig, just before we get to predictions, I find the craziest thing here. For the winner of this game, they're 60 minutes away from an All-Ireland final.
Yeah, that is mental, right? Yeah. Like, and Brian touched on it earlier on, like that's like when we're on about the coverage, like that's the joys of the Galway Championship, like, and what's at stake. And I don't think that comes into your head, and it definitely doesn't. Like, I know from past experience when you're in the county final, that definitely doesn't come into your head when you're leading up to it. But that's the reality of it. But it'll be the last thing in the players' head coming into the match on Sunday. Like, they won't be thinking anything like that. And in particular, these two teams, who there is no county medal within the whole group of players. So that's the last thing they'll be thinking about. And Brian touched on it there, like this is Johnny's and Paul's and Neil's sixth county final. And like, it's amazing the way things change and how life changes for everything. Like, and I know Johnny has a child and Neil has a child, and like life goes on and things change, and there's a different perspective from the first county final to the last. And I like, your times don't last, your hurling career doesn't last too long, and there's a pure sign of it there. Like, and like, you look back in these memories, and I'm sure Johnny and Paul and Neil and all the lads, and Jamie's in his 30s now, and Tuam, and there's another lad who's going through the middle. I know he comes on as well, and all these lads, like, it is now for them. Like, they want to make this their county medal on Sunday, and like the same goes for James and the Garveys and Jam Mannion and Decky Cronin. Like, they're around a while now as well. They were around the 14 when they won the intermediate for Cappy. Like, and like, in particular with them, like, will they get back there again next year? They need to make the most of it. Like, and that's why both teams will be looking to it on Sunday. Like, you need to just really make the most of it. Like, and like, there's no hiding the elephant in the room either. Like, there's no Thomases there this year, and that's massive. Like, it's a massive factor. Like, and I think if you told any of the 16 senior A teams at the start of the year that you would have had a chance to win a county title in the first week of November and you didn't have to play Thomases, every single team would be licking their lips. And that's the long and short. Like, so it's a massive opportunity for both teams, absolutely massive. And I don't think it'll come around the same way again ever for the both teams. And I wish both of them the best of luck, and looking forward to a good game.
The scenes are going to be incredible though on Sunday in Kenny Park. Like, whoever wins this at the full-time whistle, it's going to be incredible. Barring we don't get a draw, of course.
Yeah, and look at it, and Paul touched on that. Like, I think that not giving out to Thomases or anything like that, but the championship probably had gone a bit stale. John Galway County Championship probably, and that's just the nature of the beast. Like I'm sure it's the same down in Water with Ballygunner winning all the championships, and that just happens. Like, but like there's going to be so much focus, and you touched on it there. Like, even though the Ireland champions aren't involved in the county championship, it's going to be bigger than ever because the crowds will be massive. I know myself, there'll be so much more neutrals there than probably what would be of normally because, Thomas is going for 7 in a row. It's the same team in the final for 7 years if they were there. Whereas now it's just 2 new teams. The atmosphere will be unbelievable. There'll be so much more neutrals. The outside the county as well. There'll be a lot of eyes looking outside the county, and it makes for a great spectacle. And as Brian touched on earlier on there, and you touched yourself, Paul, Athenry, home of hurling, the atmosphere will be way better than what it will be in the stadium, and it'll be a full house. And like no other day, there'll be up on top of the wall, beside the stand, there'll be everywhere just filling it out. So they will. So it'll be good.
What would a county title mean, Brian?
For Loughrea.
Yeah.
Sure. Look, it means everything. We kind of touched on it there at the start. Every club there, the 16A teams, they all have notions of being a county champion. And now it's down to Cappy and Loughrea. It would mean everything to Loughrea. There's a huge buzz around. Any time your seniors are going well, it helps everything. The committee are doing great work. It's easier to do it when your club, the senior team, are going well. Seeps down to the juveniles, the schools get involved. Look, at a county championship for any club is huge, but I suppose we're 2006. It's probably too long in our eyes since we've had one, and there's been a lot of heartbreak, a lot of bad days, as we mentioned there. Some lads, Paul, Jamie, these guys are playing in their 5th, 6th county final, and it'll mean everything to them. There'll be a complete outpouring of emotion, no matter what team wins. Cappy going for their first one ever, Loughrea having so many days of heartbreak. There'll be a huge outpouring of emotion for either team. But I think it'll be really special for Loughrea if they can pull it off.
We'll come to the biased view first, I'm sure, but what's the deciding factor here, Brian, and who's going to win it on Sunday?
Jesus, I knew you'd ask me that before we get off. Who's going to win it? Obviously, my heart is saying Loughrea, but my head is saying Loughrea as well. They've just been ultra impressive. They've gone about their business every day. They've taken to the field in the championship this year. Questions were asked. Probably the biggest questions were probably asked against Castlegar, and I was hugely impressed how they answered that day. I think I said it the last time. Craig Thomas put Castlegar a point up. Momentum was with Castlegar. Everything looked to be with Castlegar. And in fairness, Loughrea came with a really strong finish. So obviously my heart is saying Loughrea, but my head also. I do think like if Loughrea hit their straps and hit their marks and play as well as they can, I just think they'll have a little bit too much for Cappy. But I've said it, and I said it before the semi-final. Cappy have the forwards to trouble any team, and if they get a run on you, we're going to be in trouble. But I'm hoping for a Loughrea win with my Loughrea hat on there.
Craig, who do you see winning the county title?
Yeah, no, similar to Brian. I think that I think Loughrea throughout the course of the year they've just really, like, where Cappy have definitely worked off momentum from the quarter final win over Clymer Daly and so successfully, and then going on and finishing strong against Arceus and finishing strong against Thomas's, and I think they've had a big influence from the sub bench as well. I think James Egan has done very well, and I think that where they have, even though it's their first county final, they're probably going to be going in as underdogs, obviously, and whereas they probably are in bonus territory. I think Loughrea just have gone about their business very well. I think they've built nicely all through the year. Injuries coming back like Jamie, Paul Hooban, Darren Shaughnessy all made their way back. Then Dylan Shaughnessy came back from Australia, so he's been coming on there and having a big part to play as well. I think it's just everything has gradually been going really well for Loughrea. I think they made short work of Clarenbridge in the last group game. which probably left himself open for a tougher game in the semi-final. But no, just went about their business, came out of the blocks, did very well in the semi-final against what me and you, Paul, thought beforehand, and we said that we thought it was going to be a very close game. They just seen it out, got their advantage, and just held it out with ease until the end. And for me, I just think that Loughrea are that bit ahead of Cappy at the minute. I think squad-wise, management-wise, experience-wise, I just think that now, again, I do fully agree with Brian. Momentum is a funny thing, and like Cappy have a massive amount of momentum coming into this between playing and supporters and everything. But I just think Loughrea they've just been exceptional so far, and I think that I would be shocked if Loughrea got beaten at the weekend, and I think that like the weather's probably going to be nice.
Just be aware of this Cappy backlash now, because they were very quick to remind Kevin Brady of his takes on them throughout the year. So just in case this does go as a surprise this weekend.
Well, I won't call it as a draw, so just to sit in the fence. But no, I think Loughrea, Paul. I definitely think Loughrea. I just think that they've been the form team all year, and I think that it'd be shocked me if they lost on Sunday. But look at best of luck to Cappy as well. Yeah,
that is Loughrea Cappataggle Galway Senior Hurling Final, the main event this weekend, 1:45 in Kenny Park. The game being shown live on Galway.ie TV for anyone who can't make it. But that's all we do have time for on today's show. Thanks to Brian and Craig for coming on.